This is Behind the Headlines, with behind-the-scenes analysis on issues affecting Pennsylvanians, sponsored by the Susquehanna Valley Center for Public Policy. Now, here's your host.
Hi, from Philadelphia to Erie and from Pittsburgh to Scranton, it's Behind the Headlines. I'm Charlie Greenwalt, the Senior Fellow at the Susquehanna Valley Center for Public Policy. I'm joined as usual by my co-host Maura Donley.
Hello, Charlie.
Hi, Maura. Maura, well, what do you think? Is Senator Fetterman going to be running as an independent soon? Is he going to run perhaps for president?
I am not in the know. I really am not. But, it's going to be an interesting, whatever he decides, it's going to be very interesting.
He surprises us every day.
Every day, yeah. He definitely has a mind of his own, and I respect that.
Well, for someone that can help us understand this better, we are so fortunate. All of you viewers should know what a special treat we have today for you. We have former Congressman Bob Walker. Bob had held the seat of Thaddeus Stevens in the United States Congress for 20 years, and he did it all. He was a school teacher, he was a congressional aide, he was a congressman, and then he's become one of the most important lobbyists and then if you will, consensus builders in the nation. Bob, I just can't thank you enough for coming here and sharing your time with us.
Well, I'm glad to be with you. Hopefully can talk about some interesting subjects. We certainly have a lot to pull from in that category.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that you've involved yourself with most, and most people perhaps don't realize it, is as your former job in the Congress, you were the Science Committee chairman. And oh my goodness, you got into things that the normal public had no idea about. And we were wondering if you could talk about some of them. Right now, we just are in the afterglow of the successful missile launch. And we're wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about NASA's space program, this program that's going to the moon and going to build a moon base and maybe go to Mars. Could you talk a little bit about what's the status of it? How are we doing?
Well, NASA has a very ambitious program, and they are really working with a lot of energy toward some permanent presence on the moon, in fact, for humans. And that's where their focus is at the present time. Unfortunately, the rocket that was going to carry us to the moon had a problem on the pad recently. And
Was that the Blue Origin?
yeah.
It was going to be taking everybody out.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And their rocket, I happen to be on the advisory board for Blue Origin.
Oh, goodness. I
So,
bet that was quite a shock.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Very expensive one, too.
Exactly.
But the fact is that they have the most powerful rocket capable of landing on the moon. Elon has very, very powerful rockets, but he has rockets that perhaps, because of the uneven nature of the moon's surface, if you try to land them there, it has the problem of perhaps tipping over.
Oh, that would not be good.
So
yeah.
that's the difference between the two companies on this. And so the Blue Origin people have really been the ones that are being counted on for taking humans back to the moon. And we were really looking at next year to be flying them. And now it's going to be a while because they have to rebuild that launch site.
I did read that the damage was not as extensive as originally thought it would be, so that the timing may work out still, which would be great. But this raises a really interesting question about the importance of public-private partnerships when it comes to space exploration. Can you talk a little bit about that, like how critical it is to NASA's not on its own anymore, doing everything?
Well, in fact, the commercial sector has picked up a lot of activity in recent years. Most of the satellites you hear about them flying, whether it's communication satellites or even research satellites, are being flown commercially now rather than are ones that the government is doing. the government's so heavily involved because it has all the military
Right.
satellites in.
And do they have regulatory power over the commercial programs, or?
Yes,
Okay.
there's still regulatory power
Right.
there, but for the most part, it's the case of the commercial sector is really beginning to expand, and we're trying to figure out how you can expand that commercial sector, get more people into space. We now have the ability on rockets to get them there, but we don't have any real place to take them. The space stations we have been NASA space stations. We need to think more in terms of what a commercial space station should look like in the future. And there's a lot of activity in that arena as well. So space is a very dynamic place at the present time. And of course, we're in a world competition too, because the Russians and the Chinese
Yeah.
are still
They're launching.
actively taking their programs as far as they can. No one's close to the United States at this juncture. And I think NASA has been reinvigorated by their new administrator. So that's been a joy to see. That we have someone now who is really into this and is a billionaire himself. He's not there for the salary, and wants to be very aggressive about promoting some of the new orbits.
It's a joy to watch. It's been a lot of fun to follow along, and millions of people did the same thing, and it really is amazing, and it's been really so much fun.
He's not distantly related to Chris Kraft, is he?
No, I don't think so.
Chris Kraft did such a fabulous job
Yeah.
for so many years for us. Why, in the Artemis project, I had read that they essentially went back to the Saturn rocket and they borrowed some components of the Saturn rocket and used them in this. I'm wondering if the SpaceX people and the Blue Origins people also might want to take a look at the lunar landing craft that we had used before, which didn't have a problem with tipping. And I don't know if there was some kind of a mechanism that would balance it. What can you tell us about that?
Well, all I know is that the way in which the rocket would have to be used on the moon, they do have concerns that the SpaceX rocket is not conducive at the present time to actually landing on the moon. They have a fear of it tipping over. Mm-hmm. So there's a reason to want to be using the other rocket programs at the present time.
So I understand that Elon Musk has his sights on Mars. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Do you think?
Absolutely.
How do you think that's going to go? Do you think in our lifetime we're going to see some people on Mars?
I think, depending upon how old,
You are?
83, I'm not certain I'm going to see it.
Yeah,
But,
I might not either.
but the fact is that, yeah, we're going to get to Mars. And we've had some breakthroughs in recent months with some of Elon's programs that have convinced people that, in fact, he can shorten the time because at the present time, you can leave for Mars. It takes you about 12 months to get there.
Oh my goodness.
And that presents its own set of problems, not only for the people who are aboard the rocket ship, but supply problems
Yes.
once you get them there. So we have had some breakthroughs now with the rocketry that we think can cut that back to 3 or 4 months.
Is this the use of nuclear engines to shorten the time, Bob?
That's one of the potentials, yes. And we think that the nuclear engines are going to be a big boon to further exploration in space.
Would these be like nuclear engines on, for example, our submarines or our aircraft carriers?
Well, they have to generate thrust.
Okay.
So it's a little different, but they have to generate thrust to make them really helpful in the space program.
Well, there's lots of other things going on as well. Is it Elon or is it Bezos that is thinking of putting up data centers in space and mining asteroid belts? Who's involved with that?
Oh, those are all projects that are out there that people are looking at as being potentials. We're looking at how do we get more humans in space as well. I mean, the design for space stations and all of that is very much on the table. And once we have very reliable transportation systems, and we're getting there, I think you'll see a lot of activity that we don't even imagine at the present time.
What do you think will be the next major breakthrough in space exploration? Do you think it'll be living on the moon, or is there something else we don't know about?
No, not really. I mean, most of this has been talked about anyhow, but the fact is that getting to the moon and having a permanent presence on the moon is the really big step in the future. But to do that, we need to have the capabilities of getting supplies to them regularly, and that's where it also becomes a problem in thinking about Mars, is if you have a year-long flight, then it's, first of all, a problem for getting there, but secondly, it's a problem in the supply chain for Mars.
Right, they have to eat.
But the moon will give us a good way to begin to see how we do that, and technologies coming along will ultimately change the time for getting to Mars as well.
We hear that there's water in the moon. Is that something that they're planning on using?
I'm not aware that we found liquid water on the moon.
Oh,
but,
maybe it's just the elements to make. Maybe it's just hydrogen and oxygen that they think could be combined. But
again, I don't know that there's much hydrogen and oxygen that we have readily available there. Whether or not they have figured out that in some substrate of the moon that there is potential for that, I don't know. But that's one of the big issues, is the water issue.
If there was unlimited budget and time, what would you want NASA to pursue? What do you think would be just beyond the space station? What do you think?
I'd like to see a lot more in the way of opportunities for commercial activity. There are all kinds of things that we can do in low Earth orbit that we're not now doing that, in my mind, have potential for real breakthroughs, scientific breakthroughs. So I'd like to see that done. And then, of course, as we go into deeper space, we'll find even more opportunities to do a lot of work on Mars and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. So we talked about the joy of watching Artemis 2 and just the whole 8 days or however long they were gone. It was just so much fun. I'm a bit of a geek, so I was, glued to my phone watching everything. NASA has done a phenomenal job of communicating through social media, through their website, that entire mission. And I think it pulled more people in than ever would have known what was happening. I hope that continues. I don't really have a question here, except more of a commentary about how much fun that was to be in that capsule with them, to see what they were seeing, the photographs. Everything was so amazing. And I think they need to get a lot of kudos for that, for how well they did from a social perspective.
Our astronauts are really a very unique
Yes, they are.
group of people who have accomplished a lot in terms of not only their victories, but in terms of their education of us
Yep.
in a lot of different aspects of space travel.
Right.
yeah, we find that Elon is getting ready to roll out a stock offering for SpaceX. Probably be the largest initial public offering ever in the history of the stock exchange. What can you tell us about that?
I don't know anything about it that you
Besides that we
haven't
can't afford
already
it.
read in the newspaper, but Elon is perhaps going to trade his billions for trillions in what he's proposing.
Yep.
We'll see. He's a really interesting individual
Absolutely.
who has a real genius about him in terms of getting on the cusp of something and making it work.
Mm-hmm. Now you've met him and you've worked with him.
Oh yeah, I actually worked for him for a while. When I was with my public affairs firm, we had him as a client, and he was something to manage along the way. He had a very go to it kind of strain that were not always favorable to the congressman.
Okay, we want to take a break and we'll be back right after this.
Behind the Headlines is brought to you as a public service by the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors, the largest, most influential municipal association in the Commonwealth. Since 1921, PSATS has been preserving and strengthening township government and securing greater visibility and involvement for townships in the state and federal political arenas. Covering 95% of Pennsylvania's land mass, townships represent 5.5 million residents, more than any other type of political subdivision in Pennsylvania. Additional underwriting provided by the Edward H. and Jeannie Arnold Foundation and by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business. Behind the Headlines is also supported as a public service by the Pennsylvania Highway Information Association, the go-to source to learn about transportation projects and issues. Visit pahighwayinfo.org.
Welcome back to Behind the Headlines. Maura and I are happy and delighted to have a living congressional legend with us in Bob Walker. Congressman, thank you again so much for being with us today. You have done so much in the Congress. There's so much to ask you. And in the area of science, national science, could you tell us a little bit about what you've done with hydrogen? You were the chairman of some of the committees that have examined the use of hydrogen in our economy, and perhaps it's not getting its full attention, is it?
Well, hydrogen has always been a good potential energy source. The problem is it's very dangerous to work with, and the people who are assigned that are very concerned about the public in using hydrogen. But we're finding more and more that it can have real, what do I want to say, use in the space program. We already use the hydrogen engines in space, and we've used that as a way of moving some of the technologies forward that will make it a more practical source of energy in the future.
Toyota has a hydrogen car out.
Yeah, well, there have been a number of people who do hydrogen cars. The problem is finding fuel for them. In California, they have some hydrogen refueling stations, and hydrogen fuel cells are actually quite a good way to do transportation. But the fact is that we don't have very much of an infrastructure to support the hydrogen cars at the present time.
Maura, I'm sorry. You had a question that I have missed. Please forgive me.
Oh, I'll jump in. You know
Sure.
me. So I just am curious. You've been out of office for a while now. You were chair of the science committee for a long time. Think back to then.
Well, I didn't get to be a chair for a long time because I was only in one term that we were in charge of the Congress,
Okay.
in charge of the House. Most of the time that I was the head of the Republicans on the Science Committee, I was a ranking minority member on the committee as a whole.
Okay, but you were on the science committee.
Right,
So
excellent.
if you take yourself back to then, did you imagine that space exploration would be where it is today? Did you always think we would be talking about living on the moon and or having some sort of facility there? Back then, what was the biggest thing the science committee thought was going to happen?
I think we thought at that time it was moving too slowly.
Oh,
We just now are beginning to get the kind of
Momentum,
activity
yeah.
that get us to the point that we're going to have people permanently living on the moon.
so you were thinking about that back then?
Oh yeah, we were thinking
Oh,
about
okay,
it.
fascinating.
Finding the money at NASA
Yeah.
to do it
Yeah.
was another problem. But now we really are moving aggressively toward having real space stations, space station-like
Right.
building on the moon.
Is the
So,
current science committee on board and supportive and
yeah,
doing
from
what they
what
need to
I
be in your estimation?
from what I've been seeing, yes, they're very much on board for the things that NASA has in mind. There are some of us who think that NASA is still not aggressive enough. I happen to believe that NASA ought to be reaching out more to the commercial community and allowing them to experiment with their own ways of going and not just reacting to NASA contracts. And there now is enough of an infrastructure in space that you have a lot of companies that have a stake in it, which means that there is commercial money now available for people to do fairly big projects in space.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that we referred to, but we have so many things that we want to talk to you about, is that your career is legendary, and one of the things that you did was you helped lead the so-called Republican Revolution that took over the House again, took control of the House for the first time in what, 40
About
years?
40 years,
40
yeah.
years.
Yep.
And it was that Republican Revolution was led by you and Newt Gingrich and Trent Lott. And it changed the Congress, it changed the nation. When you look at Congress today, what do you see? How do you rate it? Is it doing its job? Can it function? What needs to change so it can do its job better, Bob?
They find difficulty because the margins are so close. In both the House and the Senate, the margins are very close. And so doing a lot of really big type programs, if you lose 2 or 3 members on the votes, you can't move it forward. And so in the Senate, John Thune has, excuse me, has problems keeping his members together. Senators can be very independent souls, and so it's hard to move things there. In the House, their margin is down now to 2 people. The Republicans have control, but barely. And so on any given day, anything that's done, and if it's anything big, you really have to work to hold everybody together. And you always have a few wild hairs that decide that they're not going to be with you. And
Not much wiggle room,
yeah,
right.
I used to be the chief deputy whip in the House. I know how hard it is to get people to do the things that you'd like to see them do in order to move the agenda forward.
Have you talked to the Republican whips today in the House and the Senate?
No, I don't keep up with that phase of it. I still keep up with the things they're doing on the science technologies side of things, but I don't really keep up with the parliamentary maneuverings that much anymore.
Did we talk about the military reliance on space? I don't think
No,
we did.
no, we have
Yeah,
not.
we have not talked about that. So there's a portion of what space exploration that NASA is always probably going to have control of, and that's the military aspect of it. Can you talk to us?
Well, NASA's never going to have charge of the military side.
Okay, who does then?
Well, the military does.
Oh.
The space, what is it called? The Space Command?
Yeah, that's,
Space
yeah,
Force.
U.S. Space Force, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Space Force.
Is the people who have that. And it's been a growing enterprise, and it's far more vigorous today than it was even 3 or 4 years ago.
Where is it based at, Bob?
Most of it's based out of Colorado Springs,
Okay.
but they have done a lot of changes to make the Space Force a more viable operation, and are looking at doing a lot more in the future.
Does the Space Force work closely with NASA and vice versa?
Well, there are certainly some joint interests. Mostly the Space Force, though, has an assignment of guarding us against things like missile attacks and keeping our missile force healthy, which is not necessarily a place where they trade a lot of instrumentalities with NASA. But there certainly is cooperation, and any of the new technologies that come along benefit both of them as we are improving our rocket capabilities. Both the military and the civilian benefit from that.
Would that also include drones? The military, would the Space Force be using?
No,
no drones?
most of the drones are fairly low altitude.
And they need to be looking a lot higher than that.
Yeah, we're,
Okay.
we're looking to get beyond the atmosphere.
Yes, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
How hard is it to keep the International Space Station going with the Soviets, with the Russians, in light of this renewed competition between our two countries?
Well, they've had a cooperative arrangement for a long time, and it has worked out reasonably well. And I don't think they talk much politics on the space station.
That's a good thing.
I just wondered if Putin gives them orders of, you will bring back this, or you will put a bug here or there.
Yeah.
I had no idea how closely we do cooperate.
Well, there is real cooperation on a lot of those programs. I remember traveling to Russia years ago and talking to, at that time, Gorbachev about the things that we needed to do in space. And he was trying to sell the Americans some of their technology. And I said to him, finally, he gave a very good presentation on all the technology he thought would be useful to the Americans. And I said to him, well, there is this exchange rate between the dollar and the ruble that would be a problem. And he looked at me and he smiled and he said, yes, that is a bit of a problem.
Well, with that, Bob, will you please come back again?
Yes, please.
We've just begun to tap your knowledge and your expertise, and there's so much more that we have to share with the public. I think you are a national treasure and a resource, and
Well,
we'd
thank
love
you.
to have you come back.
Thank you.
Thank
I'd
you
be
for
glad
being
to do
with
that.
us. And we'll be with you again next week on Behind the Headlines. Tune in then.